Welcome. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service, part of New Mexico State University, your family and consumer science agent right here in Curry County. It's a brand new year. We're launching a brand new series. So this, for over the next couple of months, we're going to do our 4-part series. We're going to talk about small appliances, some of the small things you have in your kitchen, or just some of those essentials that maybe you should have in your kitchen. And so what triggered this? My extension clubs here in Curry County. If you're not familiar with extension clubs, or you'd like to have more information about how you can be a part of that fantastic program, reach out to myself or the county extension agents in your county to help you make a connection with those groups. But they reached out to me about learning how to use their air fryers. So that triggered a lot of conversations with some state specialists and other agents about how some of these things work, what are the things we have and need to know. So we did a program over the last first part of January for those clubs on how to use their air fryers. And I got to tell you, I learned a lot of things. And so that triggered this series, which is called Small Appliance Quandaries. Do I really need that? Will I even use that? Now I have that, what do I do with it? So just giving you some tips, things to consider, things to think about before you run out and purchase one, or to figure out how you're going to use it if you already have it. My frustration with the air fryer is that it's a lot of trial and error. There are recipes out there, but most of them end with the statement, just try it. If you don't like it, try it again. Do something different. And so for those of us, particularly who followed recipes most of our life or have certain things that we've always made just a certain way, and that's how we know how to do it, and we know it's going to turn out, we'll be successful, that can be very frustrating. I have a lot of other friends who maybe didn't cook as much, or who, for whatever reason, are making dietary changes at this point, who absolutely love their air fryers. So this is not a sales pitch that you need to have an air fryer, and this is not air fryers are bad. This is an educational video. And so I would tell you is the brands don't matter. We are not endorsing or recommending any specific brand one over another. We are just providing you with some basic information so that you can make an informed decision. So we're going to talk a little bit about what you need to consider, what you need to think about when you buy it, and then some of the pitfalls to just using it in your home. So first of all, when you purchase an air fryer or when you get one as a gift, it's going to be very, very important that you maintain the paperwork that comes with that. These manuals are going to be very important because they're specific to the brand, to the style, that you've got, and it's going to go over your features, what you have, what will work for you, the things you can do with it, and also maybe some things not to do, because one of the things we're going to talk about here in a minute that you can use to avoid using so much oil is using oil sprays, and baking spray is one of those things, nonstick sprays, that we would always want to use, but in some makes and models, they recommend that you not do that. So you're going to want to review that in your owner's manual and see if that's something you can do or if that's something that would harm the coating or the things within your air fryer, because the last thing we want to do is mess it up because we didn't follow the instructions. There's also going to be recipes within these that are written specifically to your device, which is going to be helpful to you in getting started and just learning how to use it. Now, one of the things that we struggle with a lot in New Mexico is most of the state, well, pretty much all the state, is high altitude. And we know that that means we have to adjust things. Recipes that come from other places that aren't at a high altitude just don't do the same. There's not a lot of research out there on high altitude cooking in your air fryer. A lot of the manufacturers, a lot of the places will tell you, oh, it's the same, just do it. Well, that's again where that trial and error is going to come in. So a good general rule, you may need to extend your cooking time a little. You're going to want to check back and forth, just like if you're baking in it, which a lot of people do. There's some great things you can actually bake and do in your air fryer as well. You're going to want to adjust that recipe just like if you're putting it in your oven. So be sure and consider that your altitude for where you are. The other thing, and I've shared this with every group when I've talked about this, you're probably going to see something along these lines that comes with your air fryer. And so do not put your air fryer in the oven. Okay, do not, it's very tempting for those of us who don't have much counter space to set things on top of the stove or the range to use them. You don't want to do that, okay? A lot of this is plastic. It will melt. It's not made for the entire item to be placed into the oven. Even the basket or the other pieces, that's not what they're for. Okay, so you need to just be aware of that and watch for those kind of things. And I always tell people, when you see things like this, it's because somebody did it. So that's why they have to tell us, don't do it. Okay, so remember that. Now, most air fryers run anywhere from $70 to over $300. They come in a variety of sizes. This is a smaller one. Okay, so this would be wonderful, I think, cooking for one. We've done some programs on that, or 1 or 2 people. If you're reheating things, it's great for that because it's the smaller size. If you're feeding a larger family, this may not do, even to do just a batch of fries. You're probably going to need 2 or 3 batches out of this size in order to feed your family. So that's something to consider when you start looking at how and what you want to do. So really think about what you want to do with it before you purchase, because now they even make some that are more the square, or they're actually have racks in them where you can do multiple things at once, and they're made for larger meals and multiple things at one time. Also, I strongly recommend read the reviews from the customers when you look at that, and it should tell you on there. They're obligated to tell you if it's a paid review or not, so you'll be able to tell kind of who has the real opinion about what's going on. But so read your reviews to know what you're buying. So why would anyone want an air fryer? Well, there are some things that are quite a bit quicker to put in here. The quality of the food, the one thing I heard over and over as I talked to people about what they do with their air fryer was reheating pizza and how great that reheated piece of pizza was, or frozen chicken nuggets, frozen French fries, those kind of things, just the wonderful the flavor and the texture and what comes out of your air fryer without using a regular deep fryer with all of the oil, which definitely increases the health benefits of the things that we are cooking. I also find people try a lot more variety and a lot of different things that they don't traditionally make because they have a new kind of a more fun way to experiment and do that. So there are definitely some benefits for using or having an air fryer. It's just that you need to weigh out if that expense is going to help you. It's also one of those things, instead of heating up the oven, using all of the energy that comes through that and making the house hot, this is a smaller, more compact thing, and so you don't have to pull as much electricity, but it's also not going to heat up the house. So think about those types of things if it's something that you want to use. Also, you're going to want to think, when we talk about the things to avoid, that you don't do with your air fryer, you need space. Okay, you can store it up here under the cabinet, but when you get ready to use it, you need to pull it out. It does work on air, so it needs to have air. Air has to circulate through it to be able to get to it. Okay, so some of the things you're going to want to know, also that's going to be helpful with those manuals, is what are the parts of your air fryer. They come with different things. They use different terms for them. So when you read different recipes, you're going to kind of go, oh, I don't even know what that is. Do I have that? So think about, like for instance, in this one, this is your basket. This is where you place the food that then goes into the air fryer, okay, the drawer piece, but it is the basket. This one also came with a crisper tray that can be used for several different features and functions in different ways, and a rack that you can use for cooling or setting things on the outside, but you can also put it in there with things on it for easy getting them in and out, particularly if you are wanting to bake. Now, that being said, there are lots of accessories you can purchase to go with your air fryer. Once you know how you're going to use it, when you're going to use it, if you're going to use it, if there's something like that that you think would be conducive, great, go out and do that. Until then, I highly recommend go through your cabinets. You'd be amazed what you would find that are compatible with your air fryer. Okay, all of these parts and pieces that can be removed are dishwasher safe, or warm soapy water, hand wash them, get them good and clean. You just want to make sure they're good and dry before you put them back into your unit, because of course electricity. And then to clean the actual unit itself, you're going to want to make sure, first of all, that it's unplugged before you start taking all this stuff out and cleaning it. Unplug it, wipe it down, again, warm soapy water, get it good and clean. This one, there's a heating tray here on the bottom, but the heating element itself is up in the top. So you do definitely want to be careful with that. Make sure it's nice and cool and that you're not sticking anything or melting anything to that top piece. So a couple other things to consider. The big draw is that you use less oil. But a lot of us, because we're spoiled and we think, oh, we just need oil to make this work, Do not fill your basket with oil. Okay, if you need to put a little bit of oil, you can spritz it. Okay, is one great alternative to doing that. You can brush it on, but you're not going to submerge things in oil when you cook. That being said, you might need some liquids in here when you're doing things. Drippings can hit the bottom of this. It might smoke. Okay, and then you're going to get more smells. You get less smells doing it this way than with a regular fryer, of course, but you're going to want to make sure that you can put 1 to 2 tablespoons of water in the bottom of your basket, so when things drip down in there, then it doesn't stick to the bottom and burn and create that smoke. The other thing is, think about lightweight items, things that you put in here that don't weigh much, or if you don't have enough to kind of fill it, the air goes really fast and really hot in there. So it will pick things up and throw them up into the heating element. So you want to be careful of what you're putting in there. You might need to secure some things. That's why certain things like your leafy vegetables that are really lightweight, not going to be great in here. And I had somebody ask me about making like kale chips or things like that in it. You could do that, but you're really going to want to think through how you put them in here and what you do with them to keep them from just flying all the way up into your unit. So those are just some things to be aware of. Think about what features you're specifically looking for. This one actually has air fry, reheat, roast, and dehydrate as the main features. Some of them may have a grill feature or a specific bake program. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't do those things in this one. It just means you have to figure out which ones to use. So you pick your basic function, what you want it to do, and then you can adjust your temperature and you're going to adjust your timer. So again, get familiar with your unit. This one has a pause button because it does not turn off when I take the inside out, if I take it out to check something. So I want to make sure I pause it and I take it out, because when it hits the end of the timer, it actually turns off. So if I've pulled something out to check it, flipped everything and done something, and I'm a minute off, if you're only cooking for 5 minutes, a minute's a big chunk of time. So you need to be sure that you're watching some of those steps. Once you learn the steps and once you figure out what works for you, this can be a very functional piece of your kitchen if you're willing to do that. Okay, so finally, here's something that I can suggest to you, very simple recipe that you can put, inexpensive, to kind of learn how to use your air fryer. So it's a good thing to practice with, because you're not going to be out a lot of money and it's going to give you a good feel for how it works. And that is just tortilla chips. Now the great thing about this, we talked about there's some health benefits to cooking in this. Compared to store-bought chips, if you make the chips this way, you're getting 2/3 less of the fat. So 1/3 of the fat that you would get from store-bought tortilla chips by just making them yourself in the air fryer. Okay, the cost was also quite a bit less. So those are some good things to consider. So basically these are just regular corn tortillas. I've just cut them into triangles. Okay, then we're going to use, you can brush it, you can spritz it. This is an oil spritzer that has olive oil in it, whatever oil you prefer. Okay, this is, again, just an aerosol nonstick spray. You're just going to kind of coat your chips, and they don't have to be solid or really saturated. I mean, the purpose of that is to kind of get them to brown. All right, so then you're going to preheat. It's very helpful to preheat your air fryer. And most of your manuals will tell you that, to make sure you preheat it to get it ready to go. Preheat it to about 300 to 390 is what we've been doing. And again, you're just going to have to try it a few times to see what makes the chips crispy to your liking. Okay, so then you're going to just throw them in your basket. You can use the crisper tray on the bottom and then throw your chips in there. Put them in here, air fry for about 5 minutes, but after about 2, you're going to want to check them, kind of toss them around, see how they're doing, put them back in. Okay, pause, put them back in, start, let them run down to the end of the 5 minutes, and then look at them again. Are they too brown? Did they get too hot? Maybe we need to turn our temperature down a little. Most of the time, we're going to need to go to that 5-minute mark to get them where they're not rubbery in some spots. So just figuring out how crispy you want it and what that needs to look like. Did they not brown? Okay. Maybe we need a different type of spray, or we need to brush that oil on so that they're brown to our liking. It's about you and your preferences, figuring out what works best for your appliance. So I highly recommend, if you have an air fryer, that you get it out and you play with it and you use it. Find inexpensive ways to test things out. find a safe way, of course, to use it, keep it pulled out, and just get it out and use it. That's the main thing that I can tell you. If you're not quite ready to have one, that's fine. Visit with your friends, read the reviews, see what everybody is doing with their air fryers, and determine if that's something you need or not. Because again, you don't want the expense of something that you're going to stick in your cabinet and never use. Okay, again, I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service. This month's newsletter just went out, and we have information about air fryers and what we're going to do for the next 3 parts of this series. We're going to talk about your multi-cooker, Instapots, as well as crock pots and some of those essentials you might want to have in your kitchen. So if you'd be interested in receiving that newsletter, you can go to our website, curryextension.nmsu.edu. There's a place that says Family Health and Wellness. Click there and you can sign up to get that newsletter email or hard copy, whatever you prefer. I will be back here in a week to talk to you a little bit more about some of the small appliances and those quandaries that we face in trying to use them, purchase them, basically just make our lives a little bit easier. I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you.